When love turns to heartbreak, a story of family bonds broken. They say a father's love is priceless, but in Lagos, Nigeria, the Adebayo family discovered its true cost was measured in blood. When 20-year-old Folake chose love over family honor, she never imagined her own mother would put a price on her head. But as her brother stood over her with a knife, her last thoughts weren't of herself. They were of the unborn child who would never know how much a heart can hold, or how deeply jealousy can cut. This isn't just another story of family honor gone wrong. This is a tale of how a father's devotion to his daughter planted seeds of hatred in his wife's heart, how a brother's envy festered into madness, and how one family's private war became a nation's wake-up call. In a city where tradition and progress dance an uneasy waltz, the Adebayo's story would force every parent to ask, is your love nurturing your children, or destroying them? In the bustling city of Lagos, where the sun painted the streets gold and the air hummed with life, lived a family that seemed to have everything. The Adebayos were not the richest in their neighborhood, but they had something more precious. They had each other's love. Mr. Adebayo had built his empire from nothing, transforming a small stall in Balogun Market into a thriving import-export business. His wife, Mrs. Adebayo, ran what started as a humble restaurant but grew into a chain of eateries famous for their jollof rice. But it was their daughter, Folake, who truly held Mr. Adebayo's heart. From her earliest days, Folake showed an extraordinary blend of intelligence and compassion. While Taiwo struggled in school, Folake excelled effortlessly. When their father's business faced a crisis, it was 16-year-old Folake who stayed up nights helping him restructure his accounts. "My daughter," he would say proudly, "has the mind of a businessman and the heart of an angel." These words cut deep into Mrs. Adebayo's soul. She had given up her dreams of expanding her restaurant empire to support her husband's business, yet he seemed to value their daughter's opinion more than hers. Taiwo, too, lived in his sister's shadow. While Folake received praise for her academic excellence, his average grades earned only sighs of disappointment. The cracks in their family's foundation widened when Mr. Adebayo updated his will on Folake's 20th birthday. 70% of everything goes to Folake. Mrs. Adebayo overheard him telling his lawyer, "She'll know how to take care of everyone." That night, mother and son shared their first conspiracy over bitter tears and whispered grievances. Every evening, the family would gather around their dining table, sharing stories of their day over steaming plates of food. Folake would tell them about her classes at the University of Lagos. Taiwo would joke about his school adventures, but their father always shut Taiwo up, telling him he should be a man and stop playing. This increased the level of hatred Taiwo had for his sister. But life has a way of testing even the strongest bonds. It started when Folake met Emmanuel at university. Unlike her family's comfortable life in Lagos, Emmanuel came from a struggling family in Ibadan. His father was a Okada rider, and his mother sold vegetables in the local market. But what Emmanuel lacked in wealth, he made up for in determination. He was studying to become an engineer, working part-time jobs to pay his fees, and dreaming of a better future. When Folake first told her best friend about Emmanuel, her eyes sparkled with joy. "He makes me laugh," she said, "and he has the biggest dreams I've ever heard." Their love grew quietly at first, like a seed taking root in fertile soil. They would study together in the library, share meat pies during lunch breaks, and talk for hours about their hopes for the future. But Folake knew her family would never approve. Despite Nigeria's progress, Many families still believed their children should marry within their social class. The thought of their daughter marrying a poor Okada rider's son would bring shame to the Adebayo's reputation. So Folake kept her love a secret, until one day she couldn't anymore. In June 2021, Folake left with Emmanuel. She didn't just leave a letter, she left detailed notes about her father's business operations, proving her commitment to family even in departure. She also highlighted in the letter, "I love you more than you can imagine, but I also love Emmanuel. Please try to understand." This final act of competence drove her mother and brother to the edge. Even in Betrayal, Taiwo seethed, she shows how perfect she is. The news hit the family like a tornado. Their perfect world crumbled overnight. Mr. Adebayo's proud shoulders slumped in shame. His business friends whispered behind his back. Her mother always saying he spoiled her, trusted her, and didn't allow her to be disciplined. But the deepest cut came from their community. Neighbors who once praised them now gossiped endlessly. "See the Adebayos," they would say, with all their money, they couldn't control their daughter. Months passed. Folake and Emmanuel built a simple but happy life together in a small apartment in Ibadan. Then one day, joy bloomed in their hearts. Folake discovered she was pregnant. "We're going to be parents," she told Emmanuel, tears of happiness in her eyes. "Our baby will know so much love." Missing her family deeply, Folake prayed for reconciliation. Her prayers seemed answered when her mother suddenly appeared at their door one day. There were tears, hugs, and promises of forgiveness. Her mother even helped her plan for the baby, sharing old family recipes for pregnancy health. Their mother's initial reconciliation visit wasn't sparked by forgiveness but by news that Mr. Adebayo had transferred several properties to Folake's name, ensuring her future security. The pregnancy news only hardened their resolve, another heir to inherit what they believed should be theirs. Behind the tears of reunion lay darker plans. The day of the murder revealed the depths of their planning. Mrs. Adebayo had spent weeks poisoning Taiwo's mind with stories of how Folake's child would replace him completely in their father's heart. She brought food laced with sedatives for Emmanuel, ensuring he would be too weak to protect his wife. The viral photo appeared on Facebook first, Taiwo, holding his sister's severed head, smiling at the camera. The police officer who first saw it thought it was fake. But within hours, the horrible truth emerged. What the viral photos didn't show was Folake's final moments of clarity. As her brother approached with the knife, she didn't beg for her life but for her unborn child's. "The baby is innocent," she pleaded. Her last words were a prayer for her family's healing. The community was stunned. How could a mother plot against her own daughter? How could a brother kill his sister? Even in their anger over her elopement, how could they harm a pregnant woman carrying their grandchild and niece or nephew? Emmanuel, when he recovered, was destroyed by grief. The woman he loved, their unborn child, and his dreams of family, all gone in one horrible moment. She just wanted to love and be loved, he told the police through his tears. Is that too much to ask? Taiwo and his mother sit in prison, waiting for justice. Mr. Adebayo, who knew nothing of the plot, spends his days in a daze, having lost not just his daughter but his wife and son too. Justice came swift and severe. The viral photos, meant to show their triumph, instead sparked nationwide outrage. Women's rights groups organized protests. The case became a symbol of the dark side of family honor and the need for societal change. During the trial, evidence emerged of Mrs. Adebayo's careful manipulation of her son, of secret meetings with dark web hitmen who proved too expensive, of deleted messages plotting alternative murder scenarios. The prosecution painted a picture not of traditional family honor but of greed, jealousy, and calculated evil. The judge's verdict was unprecedented. Mrs. Adebayo received life imprisonment without parole. Taiwo, considering his age and his mother's manipulation, got 30 years. But the true punishment was Mr. Adebayo's testimony. "I have no wife, no son. They died the day they took my daughter." Emmanuel visits Folake's grave every week, bringing her favorite flowers. Sometimes, he meets Mr. Adebayo there, and they sit together in silence, two men united in their love and loss for the same woman. Emmanuel turned his grief into purpose. Using the properties Folake had inherited, he established the Folake Adebayo Foundation, providing scholarships to children from poor backgrounds and support for couples facing family opposition to their relationships. Mr. Adebayo matched every naira donated, turning his daughter's legacy into a force for change. Today, the Foundation's headquarters stands where Mrs. Adebayo's first restaurant once was. Inside, a portrait of Folake hangs in the main hall, her smile still radiating love and hope. Beneath it, a plaque reads, "Love freely, live bravely, and may your heart's choice be respected." This story isn't just about tragedy, it's about how love should be stronger than pride, how family bonds should mean protecting, not destroying each other. It's about the choices we make in the name of family honor, and how those choices can echo through generations. The story of the Adebayos became a watershed moment in Nigerian society. Schools now use it in social studies classes to discuss family dynamics, honor, and the right to choose one's path. Family counselors reference it when helping parents understand the difference between protecting and controlling their children. Mr. Adebayo and Emmanuel's friendship deepened through their shared loss. Every year, on Folake's birthday, they host a conference on family acceptance and love, attended by thousands. They share their story, not just the tragedy, but the hope that rises from it. In the end, Folake's death transformed more than just her family. It sparked a national conversation about love, wealth, family honor, and the devastating consequences of unchecked jealousy. As Emmanuel often says at foundation events, Folake believed love should lift us up, not tear us down. Through this foundation, her love continues to lift others, turning our deepest pain into someone else's hope.